And I'm going to go ahead and do a screen share so that we can take a look at what's in front of us this week. All right, can you see our Blackboard class? Fantastic, thank you. All right, we're in week 10. Oh, this isn't visible. Let me make sure that's visible. All right, we're in week 10. We have a handout about the research essay criteria checklist, so we're going to go over that together. We have a handout on MLA format, which is how to set up your essay. And we're going to talk about making sure that you're using a word processing program, and we'll talk about some options today for that. Instead of just composing in the Blackboard workspace, because the Blackboard workspace won't have all the tools that you need to format properly. So we'll make sure that we've talked about that. Okay, discussion board this week, and the assignment is the research essay draft. Now, by the time this assignment is due, you will have feedback on the source paragraph that you did for one of the sources I provided, feedback on the 3 source paragraphs you found in the databases, as well as feedback on that research essay with, that argument essay without research that we did a while back, I think in week 6. Now you may need to go back and develop the paragraphs in the research essay without, the argument essay without research from week 6. You may need to go back and develop those paragraphs a little bit more, but you will have gotten feedback on all 3 of those things. So let's take a look at this. And this is our research essay checklist, okay? And I'm gonna make it a little bigger so that we can see it a little better. There, and I'll move us down so we're at the bottom, and then we can scroll this up a little bit. Okay, so remember that although this is a draft is your best shot at the whole assignment, right? So you want to do your best when you're writing a draft to take care of all of the assignments. And for an incentive here, keep in mind that if this is really, really good, my feedback to you might say, this is ready to turn in. And wouldn't that be awesome for next week? Because you know next week we're going to be working on editing this, okay? Now, I think most of us will need to do some editing, but if you work really hard this week and do a really great job on the draft, you'll be in really great shape for next week. So let's think about what we need in this essay. It needs to have a thesis and concluding paragraph that do not contain source use. These paragraphs express your own thoughts. Are there any questions about that? So Amaya T, does your thesis paragraph or your concluding paragraph use any sources? No, they don't. They're all your own thoughts. Caitlin, where would you go to know how to form a thesis paragraph? That's okay. To make sure that you remember how to do that thesis and concluding paragraph, you're going to be backing up to find that handout called the Essay Jobs Checklist. And you'll be backing up to the workshops that we did on thesis and concluding paragraphs in earlier weeks, because they follow the same pattern, right? Thesis and concluding paragraphs, we've already learned. We learned those for the reflective essay, and they're not significantly different here. It's just that the place where you tell your reader how your essay will be organized, now that predicts your research instead of predicting your own experiences, right? But they are the same skill. So make sure that you're reaching back to our previous essays, workshops, and skills, and bringing those skills for the thesis and concluding paragraph forward into this essay. It's the same skill, okay? We need to have at least one body paragraph that supports the idea with your own experiences. You wrote 2 of these in your argument essay draft without research. Now I only need 1, but I want you, before you dive into the research, to express your ideas independently of the research, okay? Right. 1 paragraph discussing one of the 2 sources about the topic that I provided. So 1 source paragraph that's on one of the 2 sources I provided. 1 paragraph each about the 3 sources you located through the Lawson databases, 3 source paragraphs with 1 source each. Sources from outside the databases are not permitted because the learning goal here is that you know how to use the databases, okay? Every source paragraph should begin with a topic sentence about the idea that the paragraph will address. Each source paragraph carefully and patiently introduces the source it's about to use. Each source paragraph contains 2 to 3 quotations. Every quote is inside quotation marks. Every quote is preceded by a quote integration phrase like he says, he argues, the author contends, one of those. Every quote is followed by an in-text parenthetical citation, and the last page of the essay contains a 4-entry works cited list that is alphabetized by the author's last name and follows MLA format for a works cited list. Okay, now I'm going to move us again here for a second. Move. Okay, I'm going to move this over here. This essay contains a minimum of 7 paragraphs. This is not a 5-paragraph essay. This is a 7-paragraph essay. You have your thesis, your independent thinking body paragraph with no research in it, 4 source paragraphs for your body paragraphs, and a conclusion. So again, we have a thesis paragraph, a body paragraph where you argue from your own experience and observations, 4 body paragraphs that use sources, and a conclusion. So that's 7 paragraphs. All right, I'm going to stop for a second and take questions about this list. Do you have questions about this list? That's right. And the week before, right. So you have the paragraph, this first source paragraph that you turned in 2 weeks ago, the 3 source paragraphs that you did last week, and you'll have had feedback on all those. So for a lot of you, this is copy and paste, right? Copy and paste and maybe fixing a few issues that were pointed out in your comments. But yes, this is putting together almost all of it. If you did a good job on your thesis paragraph in the argument essay without research, all you need to do is add some sentences predicting your research to that, right? A lot of you didn't get to the conclusion. So what a lot of you are working on this week is revising your thesis paragraph and that first body paragraph that argues from your own point of view from without any research in it. Establishing your view independent of the research, and then copying and pasting those body paragraphs and then developing a concluding paragraph. So if you've been keeping up, you're probably writing just your conclusion paragraph and then revising the other 6 paragraphs from work you've already turned in and successfully completed. Does that make sense? All right. Are there other questions about this? The argument essay without research assignment from week 6. So remember when I had you do a draft of the essay before we did any talking about research? You're pulling from that. You did a thesis paragraph there, you did two body paragraphs there. I'm only asking for one. So if they were underdeveloped, you can put them together. Okay? But we've been building this since week 6. So you're going to go back into week 6 and week 7 and week 8 and week 9, and you're going to pull all the things that you've done there and put them together and write a concluding paragraph, because almost nobody got a good concluding paragraph in that first draft, because a good concluding paragraph assesses your examples, and you just hadn't done that yet. So you're going to write a good concluding paragraph, revise your thesis paragraph and that independent body paragraph from the week 6 assignment, and then pull in I think it's weeks 8 and 9 assignments. Excellent question, sir. Is it answered? Do you feel confident? Awesome. Other questions? These have been really good clarifications. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to edit this just a little bit to respond to some of the things that are a little confusing about it. So I'm going to bring you down here so I can see what I'm typing. It has a thesis and concluding paragraph that do not contain source use. These express your own thoughts. At least one body paragraph that supports the idea with your experiences, independent of research. And I'm going to make sure that you know that that was in week 6 assignment. Okay. One paragraph discussing one of the 2 sources that I provided. That was from the week 8 assignment. Then we're going to have one paragraph each, and this is the week 9 assignment. You know how to do that. Each source paragraph contains 2 to 3 quotations. And then this was, let's see, the works cited list, was that week 8 or week 9 discussion board that we worked on the works cited list? It was the week 9 discussion board, right? Okay. Save. Okay. Does that help clarify things a little bit? Okay, so we've been, yes, sir. Somebody was speaking, but I missed you. Can you try again? Caitlin, do you know where to get all the parts of this assignment? Fantastic. Austin, do you know where to find all the parts of this assignment? Awesome. Prentice, do you know where to find all the parts of this assignment? Yes, ma'am, that's correct. That's an excellent question. Do you have any other questions? Okay. Oh, that's okay. You can always hop in. Let's see. Takaya Randall, how about you? Do you have any questions about this? Okay. Amaya, no, you're all set? Okay. Amaya Thomas, do you have any questions about this? Yes, ma'am. The introductory paragraph is a thesis paragraph that should follow the same pattern for a thesis paragraph that we had in the last essay. So back up and get to that essay jobs checklist to know what a thesis paragraph does. And we'll review that today if we need to. Now, if you meant the independent body paragraph, that does come from the week 6 assignment. Okay, yes, that comes from the week 6 assignment. That's a paragraph without research. So once again, I'm asking you to talk about this by yourself before you dive into the research, so that you have a healthy relationship to the research, where you're in charge, you're writing the essay, and the research is just there to back you up. Yes, ma'am. Week 6, yep. Jayla, do you have any questions about this? Okay. Elizabeth, do you have any questions about this? Not so far. Okay. Jessica, do you have any questions about this? Okay. Jasmine, do you have any questions about this? Okay. Miles, do you have any questions about this? You sure? Okay. Andrew, do you have any questions about this? Okay. All right. All right. I'm going to stop the share for a second. And I'm going to pause our. Do you want me to explain it again, or do you have it, or tell it to me then? So tell it back to me so that I can make sure that you're getting it. Right. So again, looking at that week 6 assignment, you're probably not going to use the concluding paragraph there because you probably, number one, didn't write one, and number two, it probably wasn't very good, right? You are going to look at the thesis paragraph you wrote there and work on it some more and make sure that it does all the jobs of a thesis paragraph. It raises the subject naturally, the topic of the paper. It gets the reader's attention and sets the scene, tells the reader that this is something that we've been thinking about culturally recently. It gives your thesis clearly, and then it predicts how the essay will be organized. Now, this is something that will have to change from what you wrote in week 6, because you didn't have any research to predict in week 6. You were just thinking about your own ideas. So you'll need to add that. Everybody will need to add to that paragraph. And then the last sentence will get the reader ready for the first body paragraph. Then the next thing that you'll do is a body paragraph that writes about the subject from your own experiences and observations. Okay? So let's go to a Word document and let's just pretend we're writing this from scratch for a minute. Okay? I'm going to go to a Word document and then I'll share it with y'all, and we'll just do a quick outline that'll help us. Where is my Word? Hold on, I got a lot of things covering up my Word documents here. There we go. All right, I'm going to do a share and I'm going to get us to this Word document so that we can look at it together. Okay, screen share, here it comes. All right, can you see my Word document? It should be blank right now. But can you see it? Can you see the word? There we go. There's a word. All right. I'm going to go ahead and make this a fairly large size font. I'm just going to list the 7 paragraphs for you. Can others see it? You see a blue screen? All right, let's stop the share and let's try again. Can you see it now? Awesome, there we go. Okay, so thesis paragraph, that's all your own ideas, okay? Ugh. Okay, so I'm going to move us over to the side here so that we can take a look at this list. All right, there are going to be 8 things in this draft. The thesis paragraph, all your own ideas. A body paragraph, all your own ideas. A source paragraph, one of the 2 I provided. A source paragraph, one you found in the database. A source paragraph, one you found in the database. A source paragraph, one you found in the database. The concluding paragraph, all your own ideas, and the works cited list. Now, all I'm trying to point out to you is that this one is that you did a draft of this in the week 6 assignment, okay? You did a draft of this in the week 6 assignment. You did a draft of this in the week 8 assignment. You did a draft of this in the week 9 assignment. And the same is true, I'll make this smaller in a sec so we can see more of it at a time. The same is true here for this one and this one. Now we did a draft of this. And I'm not sure whether it was week 8 or 9 discussion board. I think it was week 8, but I'm not really sure. A draft of this in the week 8 or 9 discussion board. So let me make this a little smaller so we can see more of it at a time. Not that much. There we go. All right. Does this help it make sense? All right. Does anybody have any questions about this? It's a 7-paragraph essay with a works cited list at the end. You've done a draft of about 6 of the 7 paragraphs in previous week's work. Everybody clear on that? Okay, great. I know it's confusing to pull a research essay together in this way. This is the week that it's confusing. Don't feel like you're the only one who's confused. I'm just trying to reflect to you that the work you've been doing is the work that we're going to continue to use. Okay, so if you've been keeping up and you've been getting good grades on your weekly assignments, this week shouldn't be very overwhelming. If you've gotten way behind or you've missed a bunch of the assignments, this week's going to be a booger for you because you're going to have to write a 7-page paper. I mean, a seven paragraph paper, okay, which is probably like a 5 or 6 page paper. Now, most of you have already done most of this legwork and you're all set, okay? Some of you haven't, and you've got a lot of work to do this week, okay? Questions about this? I will put this list in Blackboard for you. Now, were there other groups that needed to go over other things? Yes, ma'am. You can use it as a draft of it, but it wasn't very good. Not you personally, none of them were very good because a concluding paragraph, that came out really grouchy. All right, so a concluding paragraph, the first thing it does, the first job of a concluding paragraph is to summarize and assess the examples you've used. And that paragraph didn't do that because we have 4 paragraphs that we had no idea about when we wrote that, right? So it just didn't do, and that's the most important job of a concluding paragraph. So and a lot of people didn't write one at all. So I want people to kind of start fresh on the conclusion because it didn't really do that job that's really essential. Now you can use parts of it if you wrote some things where you're thinking about your own ideas and how to wrap it up and what's at stake if the reader disagrees with you. And those jobs of a concluding paragraph, you can copy and paste that into it, but consider it a really, really rough draft if you pull anything from a conclusion there. Because the number one job of a concluding paragraph is to summarize and assess what your examples have been. Okay? All right. Other questions? These have been really good questions. Are there others? Yes, sir. You will use criterion, but not this week. I'm trying to separate the draft from the final draft. For the final draft, you'll use criterion, but I want to make sure that we have a solid draft that uses sources correctly, that's got it organized correctly. This is enough confusion this week to without criterion. We're going to do that next week. Okay. So this is a draft. So you will use criterion for this, but not this week. Okay. All right. Other questions? Okay, I'm going to quickly go over some of the jobs of the basic paragraphs with you. I'm going to do it in a screen share, and I'm going to put it in that document that we were just looking at before. All right, so we're going to do here. So let's take a look here. I'm actually going to put it down here where we can see it. Can you see my document? Okay. All right, so in a thesis paragraph, we have these jobs, remember, right? Raise the subject naturally. What's your subject? Confederate monuments, right? So you've got to raise that as if nobody has asked you a question. I don't want to see anybody starting out with Confederate monuments should be removed. We've got to start up by saying, hey, have you ever walked past a Confederate monument? Have you thought about what it represents? You got to raise the subject naturally, right? Set the scene, give background. Tell people who may have been hiding under a rock that there's been some controversy lately over them being taken down. Y'all know because you've lived in Birmingham that the Confederate monument in Birmingham has been taken down. And you know about that just by walking around the world. So start out, set the scene, give a little background, and get the reader with you. Then you state that clear thesis. Then you spend some sentences, plural, telling how the essay will be organized. Here's my view. I've got some authors who agree with me. Maybe list them, maybe say who some of the authors are. Take a couple of sentences to do that, and then get the reader ready for your first body paragraph. This should be a 10-sentence paragraph, right? Body paragraph without research has a topic sentence and 3 major supporting details, each with 3 minor supporting details. Okay, what's in a topic sentence? I should be hearing from you. What's in a topic sentence? In the rest of the paragraph, that's right. But it also has these things in it. It also, the topic sentence tells the reader exactly what the paragraph will be about. It uses keywords from the thesis, and it uses transitional phrases. And then your paragraph will have 3 major supporting details, each with 3 minor supporting details, right? It has a concluding sentence that gets the reader ready for the next paragraph. What's in a source paragraph? We still start with a topic sentence. Your own words, your own ideas. Then it has a source introduction. Then it has quote integration. How many quotes? Then we have analysis, citation in text, parenthetical citation after each quote. Then we have analysis after each quote. And then you have your concluding sentence, just like always. What's in a concluding paragraph? I want to hear from you. Go ahead. Yes, you tell your reader what's at stake if they don't agree with you, and then tell the reader what to do or think next, right? So we need to make sure that all of our paragraphs are doing all of their jobs. Now, you've had a billion handouts on this, right? If you're just using this, it's shorthand, please. Please go back for the individual handouts that go over these things in great detail. This is just a tiny little cheat sheet to help you remember. But this is where the rubber meets the road, and you need to really make sure that you're getting that when you're doing your thesis paragraph. Don't forget that we learned how to do that in our last unit, right? Back up to our last unit's handouts, back up to our last unit's videos to talk about how to do those thesis paragraphs. I'm expecting you to bring those previous skills forward with you and use them again here in this essay. This isn't like new essay and now all of a sudden a thesis paragraph gets to go back to being 4 sentences. That's not how it works here. We're building, right? We want to make sure that those skills are coming with you into this new skill. Now, I will post this little cheat sheet set of reminders, but remember, it is a really short version of the handouts that we've gone over in great detail since week 4, I think, weeks 3 and 4. So make sure that you're using all of your resources as you finish up. All right, we are in our last 15 minutes. If you are confident and you've had passing grades on your assignments up to now, you can log out. If you have had any missing assignments, assignments that are late, assignments that didn't pass, or if you have questions about what we're working on this week, go ahead and stay on, okay? All right, remember we have a discussion board due Wednesday that's asking you precisely the same question. If you have problems, what are they, and let's solve them, okay? Andrew, stay on for me for a second. If you have questions, go ahead and start shouting them out. Yes, sir.